So welcome to the Learning Science Lab's GenAI interview series. Today we'll be talking with Professor Kristen Sosulski, a clinical professor in the TOPS department here at NYU Stern and the executive director of the Learning Science Lab. Hi, Kristen.
Hey, Kate. Happy to be here.
First off, I'd like to ask you about the role that generative AI plays in your course. What's your policy on student generative AI use?
So I allow GenAI use throughout my courses, but my policy is that I ask students to kind of cite their use. And so I provide them with models and examples for how to do that. I just ask them to provide the prompt that they used that maybe provided them with an insight of the solution or the solution itself.
So in your course, AI is permissible and students are comfortable and excited using it, but are they still hesitant to share their use of generative AI tools?
Yeah, sometimes. And that's really where you have to create a culture of use, right? And so when I observe a piece of student work that could or could not be influenced by AI, I might have a conversation with that student, or also encourage students who have done the proper citing of their AI use to kind of share it with others. The idea is to socialize the acceptance and the use of AI in the classroom as an extension of our resource kit.
And have they been able to take on more challenging problems using generative AI?
Absolutely. And I give them more challenging problems now. I am no longer kind of fearful or feel like I'm putting too much pressure or upping the challenge too much for my students now, because the capabilities are there for them to kind of take a risk and see if they can solve problems on their own, or also in collaboration with AI. And since my policy is so open that I ask students to cite it, they generally feel very comfortable using it as part of their learning practice.
So in your course, when making sure that students have fundamental knowledge, do you feel like there are places where generative AI should not be incorporated when they're developing basic coding skills?
Yeah. When they're developing basic coding skills, exactly what you said, Kate. Yeah. Right. So I try to, at every juncture, really make the business case for why we're learning, how to create variables or instantiate objects, or to use built-in methods, or to how to create our own methods, right? These are all kind of programming fundamentals. So I like to give them that assurance so they don't immediately, as a reflex, go to AI or go to Google to try to solve the problem. They take it on first themselves.
How do you ensure that they're still learning in that process when they're using AI?
I split the project in phases, right? So it's not just a summative assessment, it's a formative assessment. We do check-ins all the time. And I ask each student to present what they've done. So when we have group meetings, for example, so I'll meet with an entire group and I'll speak to each team member, and I'll have each team member describe what they've done and show me what they've done. And that's so important, to be able to describe what your code is doing and verbalize it.
Is there any advice that you'd like to give other Stern faculty members regarding generative AI?
I would encourage you to talk to your colleagues, especially in your department, to kind of learn what each other are doing. And I think, it's really important that if you don't really use it so much yourself, it's going to be kind of hard to kind of think about how to use it in your teaching practice. And I think if you can think at that level, the opportunities might just kind of pop in your mind for what's possible with regard to your own teaching practice.
Kristen, I just want to thank you for taking the time to talk with us today. And I'm so excited to see how this conversation evolves throughout Stern.
I'm super excited too. Thanks so much, Kate. This was super fun.